is to get jobs for Paulding County, to get a tax base that will help you with your property taxes, to help them go down. How many of you know that we have the lowest development, commercial and industrial development of every county around us? How many of you knew that already? We do, the lowest. Even Polk County per capita has more, and even not per capita, I think they just have more. All the counties around us have more development than we do. That hurts us. Why is that? And I know, how many of you have seen on social media, stop building subdivisions? Come on now. If you've ever been on social media, you've seen that. Stop building subdivisions. They are, I mean, even when I was running, they were saying stop building. Well, first of all, I'm gonna talk about that for 1 minute, then we're gonna get to the data center thing. We have a lot of subdivisions out here. We have a lot of people. When I moved here 32 years ago, we had a population of 42,000 people. Now we've got a population of getting close to 200,000. That's how many people have moved into Paulding County, and that's good in some ways, not so good in others. Every family that moves in brings people with them, and children, or they move in and they have children, which is great. We love children, but they cost money to educate for the county. And so every time a house is built, we have a calculation. The tax on your home is not enough to pay for the education of your children, because it costs about, I think it's at about 12, 14,000 now a year to educate a child. And that's not if they're special needs, that's just anybody. And then if they're special needs, it's more. And so we can't tax homeowners enough. So I had heard years ago about the statistics about this county about development. So I said, well, we want more development, we want less subdivisions. And then I got in office and I found out we had tons of subdivisions on the books that had already been approved. So back behind you guys was one of those. It was approved back in the 2000s for 1,015 houses, is that right, Ann? Give or take a house, right? No, it was 1,200, over 1,200. Or over 1,000, I'm sorry, over 1,000. 1,015, I'm sorry. So anyway, so a lot of houses were approved for that. They were very close together. They would be according to the plan that was approved before I came in, and many years, 20 years before I came in. It was already approved, and they would be very close together, and they've got a 15-foot buffer from your neighborhood, 15 feet. So when a person who was connected to that land, knew people that had that land, said, would you rather have houses here or commercial development? I said, well, I think I'd rather have commercial development. The other thing I ran on was 92, it's now 6 lanes. Hardly anybody wants to live right on 92, because getting out of the driveway is dangerous. And so we put in an area that's jobs corridor down 92. And so the idea of that was we would let that jobs corridor be our place for development, one of our places. We've got a medical corridor over by the hospital. We've also got another jobs corridor over near the airport. So we have tried our best to make sure that we do development in an orderly way. We had public meetings about all of this a couple of years ago. When did we do that comprehensive plan, Ann? 22. So a few years ago, we did that. It was the year I came in. And that was one of the things that we added to that was jobs quarters. And so that's how we tried to proceed. So anyway, but I didn't immediately say, oh yeah, let's do whatever. We went out, as Tim said, we went out and did a lot of homework, a lot of research. We had meetings, we started asking questions. I immediately picked up the phone and called my friend in Douglas County. They have 16 data centers there. And I said, tell me about these data centers. Tell me the good, the bad, and the ugly. I want to know every bit about it that you know. And so he told me some things. He said, you know, they're mostly really good. He said, but we're going to put a moratorium on because we've got so many. And we just want to slow it down, make sure we're doing everything right. He said, I'll tell you one thing that we did wrong. And so this is, and I always would ask people when I talk to county people, was there anything that you did wrong that you would tell us to avoid? Because if we do anything like that, we want to do it right. We want to make sure that we watch out for you, the people in the neighborhoods. We want to make sure we're watching out for the taxpayers. So one of the things he told me is, and actually the main thing he told me was do not give incentives. So I went back to Tim and the other folks that were talking about and said, we're not going to give incentives, are we? And we all, you know, the commissioners agreed that we were not going to give incentives to data
We're not gonna
centers.
give them incentives, but we're gonna ask for a lot. If they
Yeah,
come.
we are going to ask for a lot from them, and they are generally willing to do a lot. That's another thing I learned along the way here. So anyway, we continue to have classes, and how many of you listen to Eric Erickson ever on the radio on WSB? Anybody? Well, he was on there yesterday, and I would recommend that you go on his YouTube channel and listen to the second hour of his show, and he talks a good bit about data centers. Because I started reading some things, and I'm like, wow, that's bad, right? And then I dig down to the source. And sometimes it was pretty shady, and he talks about one of those. There's a big story out of Fayette County. This data center didn't, used all this water and didn't pay their water bill. Well, he can explain it. I'll explain it later if you want. I'm not gonna take all the time. But there's a really good explanation for it, and it's been resolved, and they paid their water bill. So it was a meter reading issue, and that was what it boiled down to. So anyway, we've got a lot of good people. Ray's never heard of a meter reading issue, have you, Ray? Never happens.
Why don't you get everybody to introduce themselves?
That's what I'm about to do, yeah. So I've got some folks here that are good question answerers. I want to hear from you, and here I would prefer that you ask it in the form of a question, and just make sure your question has. Okay, great, that's perfect. She's going to bring another microphone up, and then we'll, yeah, you can do karaoke. Thank you, Greg, that's a good idea. But after we get through with this first bit of fun, but anyway, I want you to ask questions, and then we'll provide the best answers that we can.
I'd like to know what their major concerns are first, you know?
That's what I'm talking about. That's gonna be the questions. Yes, what your major concern is. Tell me what's on the top of your mind of what your concern is, and then we'll do everything we can do. We put together a data center policy to make sure, because of some of the things that we had heard around. And so Ann is expert on that. Ray Wooten, would you come up? He's with the water department. Come on down, man. Ann,
Just let them
with community
introduce themselves
development.
first. They're gonna talk first.
Hang on for a minute, yeah. I'll let them say more about, Chris, do you want to come with Ann, or are you just gonna watch?
Am I coming?
Okay.
You've been elected.
Chris is also in community development. Who else we got here that we need to come up?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that guy. Jeff
The guy with the
from
Greystone shirt?
Power.
The power
Jeff
tower.
knows. So, I love Greystone. They're a good company, and we enjoy, I've always liked them. They're a good bunch. So anyway, okay, so we're just gonna go down the line. They're gonna introduce themselves, and then you're gonna take the microphone to them so everyone can hear their question. Okay. Ray, take it
Do
away.
what? I do want you. And Virginia, I want him to come up from Bartow County also.
Oh, okay,
I
okay,
just
yes.
forgot his name. Carl. Yeah, Carl.
Carl from Bartow County.
He's Bartow County's, I guess he's an independent contractor. He has studied data centers all over, so Bartow County hired him as a consultant. I've been speaking with him for, I don't know how many months.
6 or 8.
Yeah, months. And so I asked him, and he's taking his own time over here to just come and tell you some of his knowledge. So I invited him also.
Okay, thank you for coming, Carl. Okay,
Hi, I'm Ray Wooten with the water system. And do you have any water questions?
Are we gonna pass that?
Yeah, we can start taking questions in a minute.
Good afternoon, I'm Ann Littman, I'm the Community Development Director. And I have to do my
what is community development? So we're planning and zoning, building permitting, development division, a little bit of stormwater, and business license.
And I'm Chris Robinson, Community Development also, and Planning and Zoning Manager, and we handle rezonings. And I was here way back about 24 years ago when things were happening with the houses and the PRDs and everything.
Hey, Jeff Knowles, Manager of Commercial Markets for Greystone Power.
And I'm Carl Lugans. I work with a company called GMC. It's an architectural and engineering company, but we do consulting and had the opportunity to work on and design some of the site aspects of data centers. Been able to visit some of those, and now I go around and help communities understand what a data center might be. And as Tim said and Virginia said, there's been a lot of changes in these, and there's a lot of false advertisement. We just hope to get the right word out and let you guys make your own decisions from there.
Okay, so,
Do you want to be introduced? You're just here as a spectator?
I'm just here as a spectator, but I'm Jeff Matthews. I own a piece of property across the highway, the old Tidwell Farm, and it's zoned for about 700 houses, but we'd rather see something else. Although we need schools, we need school teachers, and everybody needs a job, but I do think that,
I'm sorry, dear.
oh, excuse me. I'm sorry.
But it's on, just talking to us.
Didn't know if it was live or Memorex. Okay, can y'all hear me?
You what?
Well, yeah. Yes, I'm Jeff Matthews. We own the old Tidwell Farm across the highway, across 92, and we have owned it since 2004, so it hadn't been an overnight success. But it is zoned for a lot of houses, but we feel like this is a better opportunity from the standpoint of tax revenue, and obviously we hope to make more money on it than we would on houses and do it a lot quicker, because I'm getting older and don't even buy green bananas anymore. So with that, I'll sit down and let Mr. Jimmy have it. Thank you.
Who wants to?
all right, so yeah, I'm ready, for questions, and, if you'll raise your hand, I'll call on you.
Question?
Okay?
What's the percentage
Wait till the microphone gets to you.
What's the percentage of water that Paulding County gets from Cobb County currently? And can you supply the water to this data center without, say, my house losing water pressure and possibly burning down?
Yeah, that's a big question, but currently our contract with Cobb Area Water is we have the ability to supplement additional 5 billion gallons. But when it comes to a data center, you have different ways that they may cool their system. They may use, there's called open loop, which uses millions of gallons, which is not something we would allow. They've got, some use closed loop, some use chip cooled, some of them use combination with glycol. But as far as water, we're not gonna have an issue providing water to supplement this area should data centers come in. And if they come in, then we'll actually have to work with them on the amount of water that they need, that they request, and get it the most efficient way to be able to, for us to utilize and make sure y'all have water.
And they're not containing their own water?
Like I said, there's different ways. Right. When they go closed loop, they fill up on when they have closed loop, open loop is when they use water all the time. Closed loop, they utilize the water, but they recycle and run it. Then they add glycol to it to also help, but now they're going to chip cool. So you're basically reducing water by multiples of 10 on what you need, to where they've got to show us how they're gonna cool it, but it's not gonna be to where it's gonna negatively impact the residents here. They've got to show us the numbers, how they're gonna do it, and we work with them. But we have enough water to handle that, We are currently using 15.8 million gallons. Our plant generates 18 million, and then we've got the ability to use 5 from COP. So we're in shape to take care of everybody here.
Ray, there's a new one.
Yeah,
Now,
I could answer that a little bit too. So, that's a great question, and that's one of the things that there's a couple of different technologies that are out there, and some of the older technologies are the chiller systems that you had to supply a lot of water, and you had to evaporate that water, and then you had to, what didn't evaporate went back to your sewer system. Since then, a lot of the larger, what they call hyperscalers, this is your Amazons, your Googles and whatnot, they've become environmentally conscious on using water and a lot of other things. So what they've done is force the data centers, not only them, but the communities that bring these data centers in. And there's different tiers of data centers, but the ones that are lucrative, that are very good for your community, don't use water anymore. They have basically like a radiator. You think of it as a radiator in your car. You fill it up, and once it's full, it just is a closed loop. It continues to cool your car down, such as it continues to cool these servers or the server rooms. And so the biggest use of water they have is not really it's not a continuous use. It's the first time they fill it up just to clean the system out. That's it. And then after it's full, once they shut it down, they close it down. They would never have to fill that system up again unless there's some sort of maintenance problem that they have. And they, as of today, the average is 20 years before they even need to maintain this. It's kind of like your radiator in your car. So the current data centers that you do want in your community, and it sounds like what Paulding County is restricting it to, is these closed loop systems. And so, what kind of water is currently going to be used? It's going to be based on the number of employees that the data center will have. A 1.5 gig data center, which I think this is proposed to be, could have around 500 employees, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less.
How many?
Could have
How many?
Employees? No.
could have
500?
could have 500 plus minus employees. So we're doing a 1.5 gig right now. And they're right at 500 employees that they will have throughout the campus. And again, it varies a little bit plus or minus from that.
So what data center has 500 employees?
Well, this will be the Switch Data Center in Bartow County.
Okay.
it's not the one that's proposed here.
No, it's not the one that's
That's the one
proposed
in
here.
Bartow County.
So there is one proposed here? There's 4 proposed.
There's not one here, no. But
is
if
there
we have
one
one, it won't be
proposed
like
here?
this one.
Yeah, I want to kind of get back to the water question. So the water calculation will be just as in any kind of business that you would have employees. How many gallons per day does that employee use? And that's going to be, if you had 500 employees, that's going to be a lot less than even 300 homes. So, or even 200 homes possibly. So you could equate that to maybe 200 to 300 houses. That would be there is what the water use would be. And it'd be a very low demand because it's only bathrooms and kitchens at that point for the employees.
I've been doing
So-
research and I have not seen
Hang on a
one
second.
data center that has
Hang on.
500 employees.
We
Hold
wanna-
on,
hang
we
on.
can't hear
We
you.
want to listen to everybody's
Let's
questions, so
do-
just wait for the microphone.
Yeah, let's wait for the microphone so everybody can hear you, and then we'll get back to it. Is your question for him?
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
I have been researching data centers since February when we went to Virginia's town hall. And I have not seen not one data center that said they had 500 permanent employees after construction.
No, 0.
The Google data center in Douglas County is a 250
the microphone.
The Google data center in Douglas County, I believe, is a 250 gig data center, employs 350. What's the size of the ones you want to put over here?
So I think the Google, and when you said 250 gig, it's probably a 250 megawatt.
Megawatt.
Yeah, there you go.
yes.
And so the size that I understand that is going to be here is 1.5 gigawatts. So that's,
it's
So
already
that's about
decided.
30 full-time employees.
well,
30 to 50 full-time employees. The
Correct.
jobs that you're bringing into the county are temporary to build it.
So I don't, did
And
you say,
most
I don't know
likely
how
not
many the
from the
Google
county.
data center, you said it was how many?
350.
350, so a 1.5 gigawatts is 1,500 megawatts. So you, if you were to, multiply that out, that's actually 6 times larger than the Google data center.
That's worse than.
So
That's even worse.
as far as employees go, that means it would be more employees.
But that means it's bigger than the one in Douglas County that
Yes.
you're putting behind a residential neighborhood and next to a school.
Well,
Two schools.
and again, I'm not familiar with the location of that data center, but
It's on his property, right across the street.
no, I'm talking about the one in Douglasville.
It's in an industrial.
It's in an industrial complex.
All
So-
those are in Douglas County.
So again, and I was just answering a question on employees, trying to compare the number of employees. Now, it won't be a linear equation. It won't be linear if that, if it's 6 times larger, it's not gonna be 6 times the number of employees. So that's why I estimated about 500 for that, size facility.
Okay, let's go back. I wanna get Ann to answer a question.
Ann is here with community development, and, the first thing is, we need to say that, well, I'll let her say, how many, have we gotten, applications for permit at this point?
As of today, we have not received any applications for data centers, so some of these questions we're not gonna be able to answer because we have not, received any applications for any. So it's hard for us to answer how many employees, how big it is.
He just said, the one that was proposed here is gonna have more employees than the one in Douglas County. So,
We have not, I have not, nobody in community development has received any plans for a data center.
then where's that information coming from?
I'm afraid I don't know.
But that's your job to
I
know.
got a question about that same thing. If y'all haven't received anything, how are y'all
Hang on a
reviewing
second.
zoning variance?
We actually did a text amendment to increase the buffer. When we initially adopted, an overlay district called the Technology Park Overlay District.
Hang on a second, Gary, would you mind repeating your question?
I understand that y'all adopted that, and I think you went through the back door, instead of getting zoning, put zoning notices on all this property up here, you went through the back door and changed what the zoning currently could take. Is that correct?
It was an overlay district. It was a text amendment. It was advertised. It's different than.
Advertised where?
It was
a map
advertised as
amendment.
a technology.
We do all of our text amendment
Whenever you change zoning on something, don't you have to put zoning notices up around
only
the property?
for a land use, a map amendment to change the map. This was a text amendment that created the overlay
So you
district.
did go through the back door then without
Yes.
having to notify everybody?
That's correct.
And you didn't call it data center.
We didn't go through the back door.
Yes.
Well, how were we supposed to know?
There was no
How
notice.
could we have voiced our
Well, it's not-
opinion at that point?
Okay. The property is zoned residential. We did not change the residential zoning at all.
I know you added a layer
There's a
where,
layer over on the
right,
top.
that is the same thing as changing the zoning on the land where you
That-
should have let all the residents know ahead of time so they could appeal.
Hold on a minute.
I'm holding.
It went through a public hearing process. It was advertised properly through state rules and county rules.
State rules and county rules require you to notify by letter the landowners that
Not,
touch that
not on the
land.
text amendment, because text amendment covers the whole county.
Y'all went through the back door.
You
That's
went
what
to
I
the
meant.
back door, exactly. And you didn't call them what they were, because if you had called them what they
That's
were, we'd
Okay,
have been
let's,
there.
Go back to questions, and, who's got a question?
December 25 is when this one.
Okay, Steve's has a question. Wait a minute, wait for the microphone, please.
Is the county gonna do an environmental audit, for like, we're on traffic pattern for Sand Hill Cranes? Noise mitigation, light mitigation,
Sweetwater Creek runs behind these houses,
tons of
the
wildlife. here.
headwaters.
I don't know where they're
Yeah.
gonna go if they perimeter fence the place.
You don't tell them all the things
Lights.
we go through them.
24, all night long, lights.
Okay, Ann will answer that.
I mean, the first thing that will happen when we do receive an application for a data center is it
Deny
will
it.
trigger what is called a development of regional impact. And we will submit that for an intergovernmental review. We are in Northwest Georgia Regional Commission, so we would work with them. They would reach out to environmental groups, surrounding counties, who else, Chris? natural resources,
EPA, EPD.
Georgia Department of Transportation, all of the surrounding counties would look at, transportation. And, I mean, we've had all kinds of recommendations from other governmental jurisdictions that come in, so that would be the first step when we receive one. We have a document called the Unified Development Ordinance that has stream buffers, it has floodplain rules. Any project would go fully through that review process that may impact higher, I mean, there's some floodplain on the property in this side of the 92 that would be affected. There are streams that would have increased stream buffers. It would go through just like any project and be thoroughly reviewed by staff.
Would you say, I'm gonna ask you a question.
Would you say that, a project that was industrial like this would have less or more oversight from a multitude of agencies than a neighborhood?
Definitely more, definitely more.
How much?
It's kind of hard to, that's a hard one to answer. I mean, they would follow all of our regulations to the rule. If there were any variances needed, they would have to get those. I mean, they'd have to follow all state stream buffers. And, you know, since we don't have any plans, we don't know what the development of regional impact, or it's called a DRI process, what additional agencies might become involved and make recommendations.
All right.
I would like to talk about the buffers too when
Steve's first.
One more. Will it go through a federal review? I mean, the Army Corps of Engineers and stuff like that? Because those permits take a long time.
Yeah, Army Corps runs this.
Only time that you go through a federal review is if you were building a major bridge or doing something that involves wetlands. That's just the kind of thing that we would have to look at once we got plans and where buildings were and where development was proposed. If there was any federal requirements, we would definitely make sure they were adhered to.
Hello.
Alright.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hi, my name's John. I live on Wimberley Way, about a mile up the road. Real quick, I just found out about this issue yesterday morning while I'm getting my biscuit at Grand's. Everyone's having a conversation. I honestly have no idea what I'm doing here. I'm learning from both sides. I understand. But at first blush, if there are no plans involved or there's no plans on the books for this to be developed as the data center in that district, if there are no plans, that's good. If there's no plans, that's bad. How would you all, and what does every one of you up there support, which avenue and which angle? I'm a bottom line guy. Are you for it or you're against it? I'm for neither. I'm dumb. I just found out about it today, so I'm educating. So if I ask stupid questions, I'm so sorry. I'm talking out of turn. Randy, thank you. You've got a beautiful home.
That's all I know.
That, John,
I'm ignorant and y'all sell me.
For or against? Everybody go down the line.
I hate to say it. It's not loud enough.
Well,
It's
they're all
our
for it.
behalf because we're
They're
here,
all
ma'am.
for it.
We're as here as
They're all
I'm
for
in
it.
shock.
For or against? Let's
Yeah.
start
If
right
y'all raise your hand, they'll bring you the mic.
yeah,
promise.
yeah,
here.
let's-
Just for
we'll
or
get to
against
that
right
in a
here.
minute. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Okay. So first of all, John, thank you. I'm glad you're here. Give me a minute, okay? So I hope that that's why everybody is here, is to learn. And some people I know have already formed their opinion, and that's okay. But there's sometimes we form an opinion. One of my favorite Bible verses, and one that I've definitely had to carry with me into the political world, is the naive believe every word. Right? And so, and I'm not saying anybody here is naive, I'm just saying for me, I had to carry that into the political world because I tend to trust everybody. I tend to trust the media, tend to trust people. That's why I'm here. Some people are like, I can't believe you show up for, I'm like, no, these are my people and I'm gonna show up for them. So, but sometimes we need to question what we've heard, or sometimes things have changed since something has happened, right? And so I really would encourage everybody, the story out of Fayette County is pretty amazing what the real story is behind that. And the dropped water pressure and everything. They weren't even on county water. Anyway, all that to say, we'll get around to hearing from everybody at some point, but I think that my purpose in being here and the reason that we were invited and that we brought these people here was to answer specific questions. It's easy to throw things out on social media or wherever,
Will you
or
stop
out in
saying
a
that, please?
conversation
Stop
and
saying
say things that are, you know, maybe you have an article that supports you, but it may or may not be correct. How many of you trust the media explicitly for everything?
Well, there's
Nobody,
research you
right?
can do.
Yeah,
Unless it
I
agrees
trust
with
the
you.
research.
And then, you
And
know,
I
and
trust
then
the
we
other
use it all
data
the
centers
time.
that are having the same problem.
Anyway, I'm glad you're here. I hope you learned some things. We're also gonna hang around and, let you answer some questions. I do have an event to do too, tonight, right up here at Greystone for Shepherd's Rest.
answer this question, yes or no?
Not at this time.
You're
Right
not?
now, we're gonna take your questions. And so, we're
Do,
gonna.
do the others
okay.
up there wanna answer it?
Oh, you're raising it up in the air.
I have a water question. In fact, I have a couple of questions, but the water, we get water from Cobb County, right?
The majority of the water here is coming from the county.
Okay, I read on your water thing that you supply like 78% water to
Correct.
the county. We
Correct.
get the other from Cobb County.
Right, and that's,
And we're in an extreme drought.
Correct.
Who's gonna be number one for Cobb County for water?
okay. The drought that we're in a level 1 drought. The water that we use that's supplied, the water that we,
It's on.
Hold it closer to you. Turn it this way.
talking to the,
There you
oh,
go.
hey. All right, I'm sorry, that kind of caught me off guard. Okay, we're building what, I'm gonna take us to where we're going. We're building a 24-inch water main right now so that we can go to using 100% of our water. Right now, the pipe work that we have and the structures that we have, the northeast corner of the county is where most of the Cobb water is being used because we don't have a way to push it up to that corner. Some people may have heard we're working on Harmony Grove Church Road. And we have, like I said, from time to time had some traffic that we've had to work with on that roadway. And we're about, I'd say, a month and a half from having that line put into service. That will allow us to get that northeast corner to where we can use our water. But we still have a supplemental contract with Cobb to go and use 5 million gallons. And that contract goes currently through 3032. Okay, so, but that will allow us to take our water plant all the way up to utilizing it 100%. But in the drought, for example, we've got 3.5 billion gallons of water. And I'm not wishing this on anybody, but if it didn't rain for 90 days and we didn't pump anything into the reservoir could handle it all. It's, you know, we've got enough water in the reservoir. We could go easily probably 120 days. Once we get to 120 days, we would probably have to use a few more chemicals to settle out all the stuff that we would pull out from deeper inside the reservoir. But we are good on water, and our agreement with Cobb Marietta is it just makes us more resilient. So, so as far as the water's concerned, even though we're in level 1 drought, Cole and Cobb Marietta Water, they're with us. The water would come to us per contract. They're required to it, but even then, we still have our reservoir that's going to take care of us.
Okay, I've been in Douglas County. My brother lives near their reservoir, the Dog River.
Yes.
And if you've been by there, you see they are just taking everything around it and increasing it because of their data centers. I mean, they are increasing it a lot. Taking land, everything, just increasing.
That's Douglas County.
But they do have a lot of data centers.
But they have a bunch of data centers that are using it.
They got way too many.
Well,
Can I add one more
is
step?
too many.
They got greedy.
We also
One is too many.
are planning to expand and double that 18 to 36. We're not doing that today, but that's ultimately where we're going as well.
So you have the land to increase?
Yes, we actually have it cleared, ready to mirror image it. But you know, that's where we're going, and you know, that'll take us through 2060 with no problems.
Okay, I have one more question.
Okay.
Virginia, at your town meeting, you told us this land has already been bought by a data center developer.
Yes, you did.
Is that correct?
That's what I understand.
Okay,
what
so
you
it's
just said
in
was
the
not true
works.
then.
Well,
Even
here-
though you don't have a permit applied for, it's in the works to be a data center.
Well, let's
They-
figure
they
out from
want
the
a
horse's
data
mouth.
center
Has it
there.
been, you own the land, has it been bought by?
No, we're talking about the
He
land
owns
behind
across
us.
the street.
Oh,
Not across the street.
We're talking
You're
about
talking
right
about
here,
right behind us.
right here.
There.
The way I understand it, that land was sold, is that right?
Last time I checked, I can only check what's on, the tax assessor's site, and the previous owner is still listed. I don't have any knowledge if it's sold.
All right.
Are we talking about KLL Sweetwater?
Yes.
Sweetwater,
Yes, yeah, mm-hmm, yeah.
Which is nothing online about them either, so I think they're just a holding company.
I think they bought it, what I was told is they bought it to build a PDR, and that I don't know if they bought it before or after that zoning, because it was 20 years ago. And so I'm not sure if they bought it before or after it was approved. The thing that a lot of people don't get is that if a thing like that is approved, we can't unapprove it. We're not allowed to as a commission. We can't on our own go and unapprove that subdivision. They've got to come to us and ask for a rezoning and an overlay, which they asked for an overlay, which we did. But they could go back and they could build a subdivision there, or they could, if it's sold, I heard it was sold, maybe I heard wrong.
Y'all
but-
have to approve the plan, so before
Yeah.
you do that.
And you've got to approve the data center.
I can't hear
They
you
can
talk.
go
She
back-
keeps talking over.
They can go back to the subdivision without us doing anything. It's an overlay.
Okay,
So-
so they could go back to the subdivision, but if they bought the land, they have not submitted a request to do a
Correct.
data center.
Yeah. Mhm,
And
mhm.
so, once they do that, because you've done the tech overlay, so it's conceivable, they could come to you now and say, we wanna do a data center. At that point, all your investigations, and would we have a public input in that? Or is it because you've done the tech overlay, that part's sold?
Okay, I'm gonna answer one part of that, and I'm gonna say, thank you, for coming, even though you don't agree with me on this issue. And what I was thinking, I wanna tell you guys that the reason I have town halls is for you guys to show up and to learn everything. You guys were there also, and, several of you were there, and I appreciate that, and I could have had that town hall without saying a word about that. Everybody would have gone home happy, but I'm not that girl. I'm not gonna go and hide something that's going on in
We
the
all
community.
appreciate that.
And so I just wanted you to know, I was the one that brought it up.
Yeah.
And because I wanted people to know that it was a possibility even.
So,
I have learned
so
more
there's-
since then.
Okay, so it's not done, like, we can't leave here today thinking, this has been signed off, this is a done deal. We now are aware, and we as community members have a responsibility to be more knowledgeable and to also advocate for ourselves with our governing body. And, so I'm just asking if that's,
I'll let Ann answer the question on process.
Okay.
From here on out, if somebody came in and said, here's my permit application, right?
Once we receive a permit application, as I mentioned, the first thing we will do, if it meets the threshold, is a development of regional impact, which I feel confident it will. State just updated those, anything 300,000 square feet or larger, I believe, triggers that. We would definitely, we face penalties if we don't submit DRIs. Chris and I are very conscious about that. We're probably over-conscious. We reach out to our partners at Northwest Georgia. That is not a public process. But during that process, and we don't mind if you call or email us every week and ask if something's been turned in, where it is in the process. I would think that when something is turned in and while we are going through that DRI process, that we would have more meetings with people to look individually at the plans. You might be like, I live right there. I would like a bigger buffer. We actually increased the buffer. It was a 100-foot buffer. We have increased it to a 150-foot buffer. The property on this side of the road has very significant floodplain that will not be able to be used. It will not be built on. Mr. Matthews' property has a cemetery on it, and I have been through the process to move a cemetery, and I don't think Mr. Matthews or the developer would want to go through that process, so that is an impediment. Anytime we have a plan review, when people turn in plans, there is a weekly process. Any of that, once that documentation is submitted to us, it is subject to an open records request. We are happy to send out any plans, to meet with people, to go over what the plans look like. And just two things about our data center overlay. No plans are gonna get approved without a letter from an electrical provider and a letter from Paulding County Water System saying that we have enough electricity and water to meet that capacity. We will not issue a land disturbance permit without those two letters, and I believe a lot of discussion will go into that.
Speaking of power, some of you have brought up questions about power, and since we have our Greystone guy here, I would like for him, is everybody curious about the power situation?
Yes.
Yes, okay, so let me just go ahead and let him describe what your process is.
Sure. So we currently are under contract to serve 3 new data centers in Douglas County. We serve 2 what I would call legacy data centers in Douglas County. That legacy means they're what they used to look like, 20, 30 megawatts. The new data centers are 100 megawatts and bigger, and continue to grow much, much larger than that. So the question I always get is our power bill going to go up because of a data center? And I can guarantee you that will not happen. The reason why, and I can guarantee you from Greystone Power, the reason why is because how we contract with data centers, and we're recently signed with 3 new data centers. They are on the hook for everything. They pay up front for all the utilization they're going to use, from transmission upgrades to substations to transformers, whatever they need for us to serve them, they pay for that up front. We also make sure when we sign their PPA, that's a different PPA than the residents and all the other businesses within Greystone. Oh, PPA is a power purchase agreement. And that's what we sign with our providers, those generation suppliers throughout the state. That's what we sign with them to make sure we have enough power to serve our residents. And the contract that we sign with the data center covers 100% of everything they'll ever use. Meaning it's a 10-year contract, they sign for 10 years. So they pay and have a deposit on file ready to provide 100% of the payment for that 10-year contract. So day one, it's equal to the contract. They are somewhere in the 5th year, it's equal to half of that contract, right? Because that's what they will owe to continue to pay out. We have everything in place to receive that money if they were to go out of business. So no way can we ever go up on our residential rates because of a data center. So.
Can you explain how Greystone buys power and what advantage that might have to the customer?
Sure. So
Or members?
we call it a kind of a smoothing effect because when we're buying power for data centers, it's at a much greater scale. It's no different than going to Costco and buying things in bulk. We just buy at a larger bulk. And it does allow benefit to our membership, just none of the negatives associated with it.
I have a question about the power. Can you tell us if Greystone is involved with the massive high voltage transmission poles on Humphreys Hill? Are they stopping at the county line, or is that where the power's coming from?
So I can tell you, I know nothing of Humphreys Hill. I've received 3 different phone calls about that, and that is not something that we're working on, nor GTC from my.
No, it's
my
Georgia
knowledge.
Power.
So I'm not associated with that.
Well, I understand, but are those gonna stop?
I don't know. Yeah, that's a Georgia Power question. I'm a Greystone Power.
I understand that,
representative. I'm
but
sorry.
where is the power coming from that you're gonna generate to feed these data centers?
It comes from the transmission system. Everything we look at is immediately adjacent to transmission systems. All the ones that we are under contract to serve are served straight off of transmission.
While I have the microphone, may I ask a question about the buffer? Okay, behind us here. The buffer was 200 feet. We have driveways in this subdivision that are longer than 200 feet. 200 feet is nothing. You said you increased it from 100. You have a 100-foot, not yards, because the example that was given at the microphone at the meeting was in yards. 100 feet undisturbed buffer. This is old growth forest back here behind us. Old growth forest. Then you have the 50 yards. 20, I understand, is, well, it was 150 feet. I apologize, see? 150 feet.
Initially, the.
Hang on, may I finish? And
Of
then
course.
the buffer was 200, then it went to 150, which you say is an increase. But that 50 is 20 feet of access and 30 feet disturbed but replaced, which means they can put up a row of little bushes after they've torn down 50 more feet of forest. We've got houses going up for sale. People bought these houses 30, 35 years ago. If mortgages aren't already paid off on these houses, you've got an 85-year-old woman who wanted to die in her home. The for sale sign just went up today because of this. Tell me about the lights that are gonna be on all night long. Tell me about the hum from those computers 24/7, 100 feet off our backyards. Tell us how you're gonna deal with that.
Initially, when we adopted the Technology Park Overlay District, it included a 100-foot undisturbed buffer. There was a text
Which is still
amendment that initially sought to increase it to 200 feet. It was reduced to 150 feet, and we state in there that if you need to disturb that 50 feet, it has to be replanted. And in community development, we take trees very seriously, and if they have to disturb it to develop the property, they will plant it back to the equivalent of what it was.
Can you just talk about what she was talking about, the hum, the noise pollution, the lights? Is that?
Our technology park overlay does already include, lighting, special lighting requirements, so that there shouldn't be any difference to what it is now.
Well, it's dark now.
Yeah.
It's totally dark.
Let's compare that to over 1,000 houses.
Have you driven by
if
Greystone's lighting over there?
The land
I
is
have a
going to change.
power question.
Somebody owns it that wants to sell it. So the land is gonna change no matter what. And so the
I was
lights
here,
from.
I was here when that property sold. And I don't know how many of you were here with it. I could go around people I know. And we were all upset then because, we had a builder across the street. He's like, I would have bought that. Now we're looking at 1,000 some homes. And, if it wasn't for the market just going to a flop, he would have built them. And we all would have had to deal with it. So I understand exactly what you're saying. It wouldn't matter at all about any of it. That was done. And as long as Randy and I have been here, we've kind of thanked our lucky stars that it hasn't gone any further. But now it can. Things can change. I know it. And I just, and Virginia, I respect you for coming out. I appreciate what you did. I realize that you get some feedback, but I am very appreciative of you stepping forward and having that courage. And, you know, we've lived here 34 years. I don't want a hum. I don't want my trees behind here to glow at night. I mean, obviously not. And I also recognize that if that happens, my property value goes right down. I know that. I'm hoping that as community dwellers, all of us, that we can make sure that's not what goes in that corner or that area. That is really not, that doesn't mean there wouldn't be some commercial property. I'm not saying that, but responsible, that we recognize this is a very big concern for us, and as you get applications, or as you as a landowner talk to people, recognize we're a strong group, we're not timid, obviously, and you know, if we gotta step up, we'll step up, we will, and but I understand the dilemma you're in, and I hope you understand what we're in, what we're sitting with, and we don't want to move. As Peggy said, I mean, we've got equity in this home. You know, this is it's a ranch. Randy and I don't have to worry about wheelchairs, but it's just I do want, obviously, that these concerns, and they are up on social media, plentiful. You can't get on social media without your death is coming if a data center moves in. And I recognize not everything is truth. I know that. I have not traveled. I can do research from my computer. That's not the same as going and visiting and walking the walk. So I want to thank all of you. As the sun starts to beat down on you, I appreciate you coming, and I appreciate, I think, is it Ann? Is that Ann?
Yes.
I appreciate you saying, call us, talk to us, come in. I would hope that invitation means that there will be listening, and that there's a potential for us to change the decisions that are made. I think post 3 is so small, Virginia, that 2 data centers and a landfill. I mean,
We do not have a landfill in Post 3.
Transfer station. But you know what I'm saying. It's just like there's a lot of, we're small, and we're getting a lot of stuff coming at us really quick. I was at a forum with Post 4 Commissioner, and Dean Snyder said, don't worry, there will be no data centers in Post 4. How is he able to say that? How is he able to sit up there and go, won't happen on my watch?
He's up for election.
Because, I don't want to speak for him, but since he's not here to speak for himself, he had asked initially when we were learning about this, he also has traveled to more data centers than I have, actually. But so let me first address one thing, the noise. Okay, I hear some right now.
Well, yeah, but that's not come out here at 10 o'clock at night.
Right. So the noise.
It's the hours.
When I went, yeah, I know, I've got owls too. I hear them a lot, along with other beasties. But anyway, the noise, the data center, I went to the Meta data center, which is humongous. It's over in Walton County. And some of you, by the way, have asked if I have signed an NDA. In order to get in there, I did sign an NDA that I can't tell you the details of how they run their data center. And I'm not technological enough to do that anyway. So that was an easy sign for me, but I have not signed any NDA in terms of this development. So that's the first thing. Then let's talk about the noise. The Meta data center, which, how many of there are in the United States for Meta? Is
Only
it
one.
7 or something like that, I think?
Georgia's the
yeah,
only one.
There's several, but not as many as you would think for how many people are on Facebook, right? And there was not one bit of noise outside, not one bit, except for employees coming and going.
and doors slamming, things like that.
All right, make
So
sure if we
much
get something, that's what we
less.
have.
Something
I don't
like
want
that.
noise. I don't want my
that's-
animals scared, I don't
We don't
want any of
either,
that.
yeah, we don't either. And so, part of what we can do in plan review, if I'm not mistaken, you correct me if I'm wrong, is, have a noise test before and after. Now, that one time that you will hear something like that noise we're hearing right now, a little louder, because there'll be more of them, is, and you may not even hear it, depending on what side of the building it's put on and that kind of thing. They have generators. That's so if their power goes out, they can keep their equipment cool. Those generators are tested once a month. We have in our ordinance, they have to be, if I understand that, they have to be tested in the 9 to 5 range. So they're not gonna be going off in the middle of the night.
So
It's
they're
not
not
gonna be a
running
24/7
No.
noise.
Okay.
That's the thing that scares people. I understand that. I live in a quiet, my neighborhood is almost just like this. Everybody in my neighborhood has to have 3 acres or more to build. And so I get it. The land next to me was for sale. And I was like, you know what, I don't want people building up close to my, so I get it, you know,
Yes,
like
I
by my
do.
dog fence, cause my dog barks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't wanna be hearing about this the rest of my life, so I actually bought the property, cause I was like, I don't want that. But I get it, and there's a subdivision behind me, I hear noise from that subdivision, and it's way behind me.
Yes.
And so,
We got a
the buffer on, if there was a subdivision, is 15 feet from
Right,
your.
you mean if this had developed?
Yes,
We knew,
yes.
yes, and back then, I think that was, I feel like 2008 when it dropped, that
Yeah,
is
when
when
the
we
boom-
went,
yeah,
thank
when the
God.
bust happened.
Because,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it had been
It would've
approved,
been built
it would have
by
been
now.
built, yeah,
Yeah.
we would have had a zillion homes,
Yeah.
they would have all looked into a subdivision.
Right.
Absolutely, so,
Okay, so.
Okay.
All right,
Well,
can you let this gentleman
We'd be able
ask a
to,
question?
we'd be able to
yet?
run
He
string
doesn't
cans
have-
from our houses to that subdivision and have conversations.
Can you
It's
let
that
this
close.
guy ask
Yeah,
his question,
yeah.
because he hasn't gotten one
I'm
yet?
saying,
I
some of these
believe.
things you're asking
Because
for specifics, and they don't have a
they have done an
specific,
impact
but you can
study
tell them what
and
you don't want.
Right.
The county couldn't support
My name's
that
Al
many
Preston. I live on
homes
the corner. I
because
think
there
that's
was
what
no
you're thinking.
wastewater system. And the county wasn't gonna put one in.
Infrastructure.
But then the system crashed.
Today they were getting ready to flip the switch to turn the data center on. Are we ready?
No.
That's
Or
part of the process.
how long is
right?
it gonna take to get ready? Speculate.
Okay, water, yeah.
Oh, from a electric utility
If they were
standpoint,
gonna flip the switch today, how long would it take to get there?
first thing they gotta do is identify generation source. Doesn't exist in the state of Georgia. Guaranteed. Alright, so how long does it take to build 1 point whatever, however big a generation facility? 5 to 8 years. So during that time period, that's probably the longest lead time component. During that time period, you'll probably be building other components, transmission, substations, you know, those things, those would probably be, so flip the switch, 8 years, 5 to 8 years.
Water to the facility, big enough pipes to furnish the facility.
I can say I don't have a clear answer because I don't know what the water usage is.
Right.
Okay, but what I'm saying is our plans are to expand our facility, but you're talking, that'll be 5 years out before we get into that. But, like I said, we don't know usages because we don't have any.
All right, with all the studies that have been done with the data centers, what happened to the property values in a 5-mile radius?
I actually asked that question. We were at a class, ACCG, which is the Association of County Commissioners of Georgia. They've been very good about offering classes so that we can hear more about this because everybody's being asked about it. The counties want them. I'm going to start there. Why do the counties want them? Because the tax revenue and the jobs and that kind of thing, and the fact that, how many of you have a phone with you? Almost everybody, probably, right?
And
And
it works.
yeah.
And it works.
And do you have apps on them?
It works.
Do you have social media on you?
Until November 15th at minimum.
Then you're gonna retire and be happy to only have one phone? I got you. Got pictures of your grandkids or something? I do. I have all that on my phone, right? That's what's driving the demand for data centers.
China does not want us to have data centers because it's also part of national security, some of the information that's on there. I think that some confusion comes in because I have heard people say, well, we don't want data centers because we don't like AI. Not all data centers are AI based. And so that would be a question I would have if, we get a proposal, and I assume we will. That's gonna be one of my questions. What kind? Some of the ones that generate a lot of noise are the crypto mining, the Bitcoin stuff. Those apparently make a lot of noise. I wouldn't be interested in that at all. But anyway, get back to your original, because sorry, I get off on a
Property values.
property value. So I asked that at our meeting that we were having at ACCG back in Savannah just a few weeks ago. I said, can you help me understand what is happening to property values around data centers? Because the people on the panel were county governments that had data centers, okay? And so they told me that they go up for two reasons. One, there's workers that they want to work, they want to live close to where the data center is, and so the demand goes up for the homes. And the other thing is that the county is able to do more improvements. Now, I said the very first time that the chairman and I spoke about this, I said, we do not want to cover Paulding County up with data centers like Loudoun County, Virginia. We're not going to ever try to be like that. But people, every year, we literally hear people crying about the property tax. People call me up and say, I'm going to have to sell my home to pay my I can't pay my property tax. It breaks my heart. So I have been diligently seeking for industry to come here so that we can give those people some relief. But data centers pay so much, we could give substantial tax relief and still have more nice things that people want. That's the thing that always kills me is, and again, I don't mind hearing from people, but sometimes they call me up and they go, my taxes are too high, but I need you to build me a swimming pool from the county. I need the county to build me a swimming pool. I've got a pothole in my yard, in my road, and all those things. Well, all those things obviously cost money, right? We all know that. And so they are able to improve their services so much that people want to move there. So again, it's supply and demand. If you have more demand, your land value will go up. And in the construction phase, I don't know that it would go up that quick. I don't know. But that was the answer that I got.
Douglas,
he needs a microphone. Wait a minute.
He's got a mic right there.
Well,
I got it.
about 18 times.
Bottom line, John here again. Hey, folks, along with the property value question, thank you, Al. Do we think as a committee, creating this district in a 100% residential neighborhood is the best use of the acreage? I'm for data centers. I get it. I'm a tech nerd. However, do we feel as a group, I don't have a vote in this, that's why I'm just asking, why would we want to make the district in a residential neighborhood
Great question.
versus a commercial industrial? I have 19 warehouses in 12 states I manage. It's a huge. In every one of my industrial parks where I have a 200,000 square foot warehouse, data centers are being built all around it, and everyone loves it. Everyone's for it. It's working. However, everything is completely there versus like these poor people, it's going to be right across. I'm right off 92 and off Wimberley Way, so I'm going to be looking at it, and like Al said, the property values, ma'am, aren't going to go up, but I'm not arguing that at all. I'm for them. Can we please find some different land in Paulding County, and then I'll help you find it.
Yes.
I want them. Well, the house by the kilo, as they say in Greek, not there. I just can't. I mean, that's my opinion. Thank you for your time.
yes. Thank you. And the reason
We got time for one more question.
no, you're good. You're good. Wait a minute. Let me answer one
A lot
thing
of
that he said.
people don't
That's
recognize.
all I need to know. Once again,
Let me answer him real quick, and then we'll get
Okay,
to
go
the
ahead.
Okay, so, and we'll be around, so y'all can come up and beat us up, whatever, no, don't beat us up, please. But you can come talk to us. So, why we thought that was good, number one, if we build between those two lots 1,700 more houses, we have to build 3 or 4 new schools.
But isn't that a
And
good
that's
thing?
very expensive. No,
My
no,
kids,
unless
I'm gonna be
you
a
love to
grandpa,
pay
they're all
taxes, that's not a good
graduated and
thing.
done.
Yeah,
I'm not advocating for either, but
Yeah.
the
Make them
argument of
55
a
plus,
housing
then you don't need a school.
versus a data center, to me, is an apples to orange thing in the whole grand scheme of our having this debate. In my opinion, I get it. Houses to me, everyone in my tiny neighborhood, I got one street, 40 homes, is owner, operator, 1 generation, 2 generations, 3 generations living there. They're people. I want that in my neighborhood because they're good working folks like me and my husband. You know what I mean? So that's all I want. I'm not for or against. I just honestly think we're in District 4 or District 3, like that lady said, right here. We all need to take a pause, take a couple deep breaths, and come together as what's best for our community. I've been here 20 years. I'm not going nowhere unless the Lord takes me. That's just my opinion. I don't know what
Okay.
the group thinks. Am I crazy?
I'm gonna get, let's go.
No, that's good.
Well, I got a bunch of questions, so,
Okay.
sorry.
That's all right.
Let's start with the fact that no one here has mentioned the creek. When I asked Virginia, why here, why not near the airport, my answer from Virginia was, they want to use the creek. But nobody's mentioned the use of the creek. If we're using a closed system, then why do they need our creek?
I do not remember saying that.
Oh, absolutely. Greg heard it. I was on speaker with you. Why do they need our creek? Why can't they build by the airport?
There's one proposed for the airport.
There's one been proposed at the airport. There has been one proposed at the airport.
Yeah, that one's been kept secret
That
too.
has been proposed all over our county.
Yeah, people have asked for them in various places.
And you're gonna tell me that that creek's not gonna get polluted in this process?
So there's sewer. Ray, would you like to talk about the sewer and how that'll come out of there?
Okay, part of what they'll do when they submit for water as well, they will be required to submit on how they're going to sewer. In this area, they do not have sewer, so they would end up having to put it into a pump station. It would end up having to go all the way across, basically to Pine Valley to tie to one of 2 12-inch force mains that are ours in conjunction with Cobb County. But they'd have to submit plans to us, we'd have to review it before we could sign off on their sewer.
I want to respond to that real quick. I was at the meeting whenever this was zoned. We went to the board meeting whenever everybody approved the 1,000-something houses over here, and there was no plan where the sewage was going to go at that point. They did not know where the sewage was going to go, but y'all stamped it. Yes, you did. Well, you may not have, but the county did. So unless that's changed, what you just said, don't make any sense.
I understand, but you need to understand, you know, in the Bible it talks about the sins of the forefathers. We got that all over the place in the county, and maybe they didn't mean to do anything wrong, but we have to pay a lot for what was decided 20 years ago, and we are stopped. I understand that, but I wasn't there. Nobody that was on the commission now was a commissioner then, nobody. And so we still, though, we are constrained. The first thing I asked when I went to my first zoning training meeting is, can we unzone some of this stuff? And they said, no, you cannot. It's against the law unless the property owner comes to you and asks you to make that change. So that's where we are.
So I've heard a lot about how y'all have toured the data centers. Has anybody on the committee went and talked to the neighbors next to these centers that are out here? Has anybody asked how it affected them personally?
I have.
What'd they say?
I don't think it's good.
I guess the biggest one was out with Meta, put the big one up at Facebook. There was a lot of controversy, and some neighbors moved, and one lady said, I've lived here all my life, and, they tried to work something out, and she said, no, she said, the water's making me sick, the noise is messing up my eardrums, it was unbelievable. So, Mia went out and hired a independent consultant and went and spent their money to find out everything that had happened. Her water was better than anybody else. I mean, better than anybody else's. The noise, they did the decimal stuff, all that stuff. And come to find out, the only reason she was complaining, she wanted to sue Mia for megabucks to make money. That's the only thing that I got from out there. The other ones, I went out to Douglasville and talked to them, and they were saying the noise was too much, and probably in the beginning that was probably true, but the technology has changed so much that I don't get any complaints. I lived in Douglas County before I came here, and that's where the Google data center is where I was raised in that subdivision. And they came in and they bought everything, and all the other subdivisions around them, or the other houses, not subdivisions, they said they don't have any problem with it at all. From what I gather, data centers don't want you to hear them, they don't want you to see them, they want to be isolated and everything, and they say they want to be a good neighbor. Now, we've talked to other companies that want to put them in, and they said, we're going to do what's best for the community. Let's put them to the test and let's see if they come in. I don't know. I enjoyed this right here. I enjoyed y'all's comments. I enjoyed your concern. And we'll get the right answer to it. And we're not going to do anything in our county if it don't benefit you guys. If it's not a win-win, we don't want to, how do you say it? We don't want to,
I'm past this microphone, I'm taking my turn.
I'll shut up then.
I think Carl said that he visited.
Carl wanted to answer something.
Yeah. He had his hand.
It was very similar to what Chairman talked about, the neighbors. And the scenarios that I've had are more like the ones that you guys have here. And the project that we're working on in Bartow County and helping them with, it was 2,700 acres, and it was going to be the whole thing was going to be a subdivision, a massive subdivision. And then the footprint that, because of the buffers that were put in place on that property, and the footprint that the data center said that they were going to use was so much smaller than the whole 2,700 acres. The neighbors felt like that was a more beneficial to them than having 2,700 homes. So it was more looked at. Now, don't get me wrong, that was not 100%, but it was probably 90% of the people that came out. They did a very similar thing that you guys are doing here. They did it at a high school, invited everybody that was in the area that wanted to come, and they showed, this was when they had made application. So they're a little bit further along than you guys are right here. They had made application and showed their ideas of what was going to go on. So the adjoining neighborhood, very, very nice adjoining neighborhood, similar to this one, decided that was a better use for them because it would still keep a lot of the land forested forever, for perpetual. So for them, it was a better thing because of that situation.
What was the buffer on those things?
The buffer was actually smaller. The required buffer was smaller. It was 100 feet there. The required buffer is 100 feet, but because of some terrain issues and floodplain issues and creeks that they wanted to avoid, they actually are much more than 100 feet, probably 300 feet in most places.
Okay, all right, next question. So, let me start with, I didn't do my research on social media. Yes, I read what was on social media, but I actually got online and looked at different universities that have been studying the effects of data center. And I also spoke to our friend at church who actually works for the companies, one of them, that builds data centers. So he's involved in it on a daily basis, and he lives in North Paulding, and he don't want them either. But that is his job for the moment till he fully retires in a few months. And this is what he told me, and it's going to lead to the rest of my questions. What will be done to control the extra traffic, trucks, cars, even buses? Some data center buses their employees in. There could be 1,500 to 2,000 people working during construction on a daily basis. Then when they are finished, it normally takes only about 100 to 200 people, so don't let them tell you about all the jobs it will bring after they're finished with the job. And the employees that are working these construction sites are usually from outside companies. They're not from the county that it's being built in, so it's not going to bring jobs while they're building it. What about the noise during construction and after completion? Ask about how many years this is going to take. Most are 6 to 8 years to do the construction. I don't know how close they are to y'all, but the place is very bright at night. If I think of them, oh, never mind that sentence, that's for me. The other things he told me here was light pollution, large facilities, 24-hour security lighting, which can disrupt local habitats, sleep patterns of nearby residents. Air pollution, they rely on diesel generators during outages or testing, which emit nitrogen oxides and fine particle matter, potentially causing or aggravating respiratory or cardiovascular conditions. Data centers operate 24/7. Cooling systems and emergency diesel generators can create significant noise, sometimes exceeding 85 decibels, leading to complaints about sleeplessness, stress, and inability to enjoy outdoor spaces. Water usage, on average, high volumes of water for cooling, which can cause concern in drought-prone areas. Proper zoning, site planning, and sound reduction technologies, sound walls, improved generator enclosures can significantly mitigate these impacts. Those living directly adjacent to large-scale, older, or poorly insulated facilities in rural areas or near high traffic access roads are more likely to experience negative impacts.
Okay, Mitty, I'm gonna ask you to slow down and go back to your first objection, and let's handle them one at a time, because otherwise it's so much I can't even remember all the question part of that. And I admire your research. I've done some too, and I'll share that with you as well.
Construction, the amount of people and the lack of jobs that we're being told that it's going to cause.
Okay, so one thing about that is, yes, that will be the noisy part. It will also be the noisy part if a subdivision goes in out there. Construction is noisy. It's going to be noisy either way.
It doesn't take 6 to 8 years to build a subdivision.
Depends. You'd be surprised, some of mine here. Mine's taken 15. Yeah, they don't build all the houses at one time and all of that. Okay, next. Oh, you said the jobs didn't come from here. So actually, my husband works in the construction field, as you know, and he's going around right now talking to a lot of the construction companies in Paulding County, and they're building data centers right now. They're working on data centers right now, just like your friend that lives in North Paulding. That is a job. That's not what we're counting, though, in this district. We would count, and that would be part of the permitting process, is to know how many jobs they anticipate that are full-time permanent jobs. The jobs that they do have are much higher than most of Paulding County makes right now. So the average I'm hearing is $79,000 to, I forget what the high end was, I think it's about 160 or something for somebody that's like management level.
How do you make them employ Paulding County residents?
You can't do that. You can't make
Exactly.
them employ Paulding County residents. What I would encourage Paulding County residents, you got 6 years to get more education on if that's the field you want to work in. And there are apparently people who want to work in that field, and so they would have time to get what they needed.
Why can't, is it still on? Why are we not looking at 278 next to the areas that's already commercial, or looking at the airport that's already commercial? Why are we looking down here at the residential areas?
The airport has very limited sewer capacity right now, and more than this area. And but if a data center or an owner comes to us and they want to do that, we'll look at it. But again, we don't want the county covered up with data centers. We want a few, maybe a couple, I don't know. But a small number to make sure that we're not overrun. When you fly over Loudoun County, Virginia, which we did recently flying into DC, oh my gosh, it was nothing but data centers almost. I mean, it was crazy. They're flush with cash, but that's not worth it to me, to be that way. I just don't think we need to overdo it. But the airport is an area that could be considered. Again, that's a jobs portal as well.
Well, every night on the news when they're talking about these data centers, they've already said that Georgia's given a lucrative state tax incentive for data centers to come here. And apparently we already have 62 operational, and they're looking at proposed ones that are asking, or 458 in our state already.
So there is actually a state incentive. It's a
Local
sales tax. No, it's not local. It's state.
Georgia's website, it says is a state and local tax incentive for
No.
sales and use.
No, we don't have any incentives for them right now.
By the way,
The
there's
state
250
did. The state
already.
did that, and so that's something you would need to talk with your state delegation about, because obviously at the county level, we don't like everything they do either.
I know, believe me, I
and
looked before I voted this week.
We talk to them quite a bit, but they don't always do what we say. And they did this, honestly, how many years ago they put that in? It was a few years ago. I didn't even have data centers on my radar at that point. But they did put that in. They had a bill this year to take it off, and they didn't pass it. So, but that's up to them, and that's something that they will decide. It's not anything we can do anything about.
And I know you from Greystone talked about that they were gonna pay their own way, but what about the infrastructure? Not just the power they're gonna use, but the ability to get it to them.
100%. They ain't coming unless they pay.
We can't serve it unless they pay.
I have a question on the power.
Wait a minute, let me get that. She waited a long time for this.
My last question is, since y'all are gonna be the ones voting on this when it comes down to it, how many of y'all want it in your backyard?
I was just
I
gonna
do.
ask that.
No, you don't.
No, you
Yes,
don't.
I do.
I would
Please
take
move it to your backyard.
I've got the
Not mine.
acreage, it's just not a
She even
good
admitted
site.
she
If I had the choice between that or 1,000 houses, I would take a data center, as long as there was care taken, as Ann and Chris have alluded to make sure that the lighting was good, to make sure that the infrastructure didn't cost me. We are trying to do everything we can do as if it was in our backyard. That's our goal, is to treat it like that.
If it's built and the lighting is more than what they allow,
Will they do something for you?
are they going to mitigate it, and the noise too? Are they gonna do something, or we're just out of luck?
That's-
Y'all gonna do something about it?
That's the question I've asked them.
'Cause I don't think you're gonna go tell them to shut things down till they get it situated. They're not gonna shut it down. Once it's up and running, it's gonna run.
Yeah, I think do you have the answer for that?
Well, before it happens, we've got some things that we've got a lot of ask, and,
Y'all's code enforcement, I don't have very much, faith. I don't have much faith in it. You just gotta drive around the county and look. You can't keep the county roads and stuff. The little things you got going now enforced, how are you gonna enforce something like this? They're not even gonna hardly let you on their property.
how you gonna enforce anything? We had the money, we could get people to enforce it and make sure it's actually done. I know I've got a lot of ask for the data centers and for any other business. It don't have to be data centers, it could be a warehouse. It could be things that are going on at the airport. They're not gonna come in and do things that I think is just a win for them, not a win for us, cause I'm one of y'all, I'm an us too. And I don't care if it's a data center, I don't care if it's a hotel, or I don't care if it's convention center at the airport, I don't care what it is. It's gotta be a win-win for y'all, it's gotta be a win-win for the county, and of course, it's gotta be a win-win for the developer. Developers are hard people to deal with.
And y'all will actually be doing inspections on it, will you? Y'all will be probably third-party inspections.
We will be
Chris
doing
and Ann.
inspections, all the way from the review process of plan to architectural building. Yeah, we'd be looking at it from the very beginning, from civil plan reviews, which has all our stormwater erosion control. They're gonna show how they run their power, how they run their sewer, how they run their water, parking, everything.
They won't be doing any third-party inspections on their own.
Not that I've knowledge at this time, but I mean, that goes back to some state law, some private inspections. That goes back to.
Well, you can do that, you can hire third-party inspectors. That's whether y'all allow it.
If you got
All
something
right,
to add.
I'm going to cut this because I feel you guys have done your duty.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.